It's the next morning. I finished my embroidery last night, so I've just been in and into the bathroom and washed the stuff off. It was a bit gloopy to get off, but actually not that much of a problem. It's just my aversion to sticky gloopy things. It's looking quite nice. Because it's denim, I think it's going to take me a while to kind of iron this dry. Let me show you how it's looking. So I've got my little iron set up again. I need to get that onto maximum now because it's just basically denim and cotton thread, so I think it'll take the maximum temperature. I had to make it, really sopping wet to get the transfer paper stuff off. Being denim, yeah, it's going to hold a lot of water. I don't think this is going to iron dry as quickly, obviously, as on a light piece of cotton, like the calico that I was using. I'm very happy with how it's looking, though. Really happy with that. It's quite subtle, but yeah, really, really happy with it. What I'll do now, I've put a towel underneath here so that I don't squash my stitching when I'm pressing it. The texture of the stitching can kind of settle into the texture of the towel, so I don't want to lose that texture. Tiny irons heat up so fast. And so now I'm just going to iron it. It doesn't even seem to be that wrinkled, I think, because I was using that water-soluble paper stuff. That's what gave it a lot of stability. So, and the denim itself, of course, has got quite a lot of body to it. So even though I didn't use the hoop this time, it hasn't got too wrinkly. Little peekaboo. Oh yes. I really like that. See, it's steaming. Ended up, because of how, I don't know, because of where I ended up embroidering it, I was going to have the seam like right there on the fold, but I've ended up with my embroidery going up to there. So what I'm going to do is put it up to about here, kind of like that. This is sort of how it's going to look, except obviously a little bit shorter time it's been seamed. Yeah, I don't want it to look crooked like that, so I need to sort that out. I don't seem to have any sticky residue or anything on here, which I was a bit worried about with that stuff, but it seems to be fine. So I'm guessing if you use that water soluble transfer stuff that hasn't got the sticky backing, and you would just kind of baste on and then embroider through, it would come off very, very easily, because the bit that made it kind of a bit gloopy, I think, was the glue. Yeah. But it wasn't, I'm making a meal of it. It's just that I'm a bit funny about icky things like that. Apparently I always was the same, even when I was a little kid. Didn't like sticky things. Right, so I'm going to keeping on with this. I will be back when I'm ready to start on the next bit. Right, I've been having a bit more thinks, and I've had a slight change of direction. Lined all this up as best as I can, tried to get it straight, but it's kind of insisting on going a bit wonk. But I don't care, that's not going to bother me. And what I'm planning to do now is box the corners, just like I did with my project bag that I did with the calico tote that came in my stitch kit box. So I'll box the corners so that this will sit up like that, like a little caddy. I need to add a closure, so I've dug out these. I've got a bag of these pieces, which are magnetic closures. So I've got this whole bag of them in different sizes. I got cheap from Amazon. I had to wait for a while for them to come, but yeah, because I want to get into making bags and things. So yeah, these just push through a bit like a split pin. You put the washer bit on the back and then push the legs out to hold it in place. So I need to make sure I do that before I stitch everything together, because they will go inside. I've turned these quite big flaps back, and this was just based on the size. I just went with the size piece of fabric that I've got. I wanted this to be positioned like this, so I just folded the edges back accordingly. I didn't measure anything. I'm completely making this up as I go along. It's a question. Sometimes when you're using recycled stuff, you've just got to go with what you've got, haven't you? I've got it into my head that I'd really quite like to use a bit of this seam that I cut off. So if I cut this in half, I think each half would make a little handle to go at either end of my little caddy. closure will be in the middle. I've also got this strip which I could make into a tube that could be like a sort of tie on there somewhere as well perhaps. And then to line it I'm going to be using this stuff. So I just need to think about how I'm going to do this. Now this is again, I'm being governed by the size piece of fabric that I've got. I need to bring the camera up a bit, I think. So I've just straightened up the edges, and the plan will be that it will be inside like this. I'll leave the denim at the top with enough clearance to allow for the clasp. Same at the other end. And this is too long, so rather than cut it down to fit, I thought, well actually what I could do, so I've marked my centres, that's that kind of centre fold at the bottom. What I could do is fold the surplus up to create a small kind of pocket inside which could be divided. So I'm intending this little caddy thing to be used for things for cutting, measuring, cutting, marking, that kind of thing. So a marker that came in, a chalk marker that came in the kit, for example, my rotary cutter would go in there. I want my ruler to fit. Things like that. I might end up putting my tailor's chalk in there, that kind of thing. So having some smaller pockets would be handy. So yeah, rather than cut the fabric down, I thought I'll do this because it's an easy, quick way to make a little pocket. But so I think I've worked out how I can do this. I'm going to stitch all of this in, but I could do a lot of this by machine. But I'm in a hand stitching mood, so I'm just going to turn in all these edges here, ready for me to sort of hand stitch them into place. I need to remember to stitch my dividing line first before I put these together. I could tack all this down as well if I wasn't so inherently lazy. Right, these might turn out to be a little bit too big. I might have to turn them under a bit more, but I think it's probably better to err on the safe side. Okay. Yep. So I just need to get my denim piece ready and then I can stitch this lining in. This is a very strange way of doing it really, but I think it'll work for me. And I might decide that I want to enclose the handle. Yeah, I might want to put the handle inside the lining as well. So I'll leave the top edges probably to the last. Okay. So then I need to think about the denim piece, and I think the way I'm going to do that, take these pins out again. I'm going to just seam this little bit here first. Okay, so I've stitched those now, just done a little fairly small back stitch. Don't think it really needs to be that strong because I'm planning to kind of overstitch the seams anyway. Yeah, do a decorative overstitch. We'll turn them out now. Okay. Let's give that a bit of a press. With my iron set up there by my side, I'm more likely to actually press seams than I should do as well. I'm too lazy usually to go and do it. Right, I've pressed this all down now in such a way that it will fit onto here. It's still looking a bit skewed, but do you know, I'm not going to worry about it. This is where my pocket will be. I've tacked this down, so I'll take that tacking out afterwards, otherwise obviously it's not going to make a very useful pocket. And I just want to run a line of stitching down here, just as far as that pocket goes, so it's only about to where that pin head is there. So I'll do a line of hand stitching down there. Then I will whip stitch down the edges here and here. And then before I stitch along here, I need to put my little magnetic catches in both sides, and I need to decide what I'm going to do about the handles. So I think I'm going to be leaving the whip stitching at the top until the very last minute, because I want to see how the boxing thing works out first. And I think this time I'm not going to box the corners quite like I did last time, where I cut out the corners so that I could then pinch it together like this. I'm going to just pinch it together like that and leave the corners inside, so that I don't, because otherwise I'm going to end up with raw edges. And I don't want to do a separate lining like I did before. So yeah, I'm hoping this way is going to work. It's fun trying anyway. Next step is to just do a line of stitching along here. I'll pick one of the colours that I've been using. Let's go with this pink. Quick line of running stitch first, and then I'll go back down with a Y stitch. Just may as well use the chalk marker that came in the box since it's here. Just roughly mark out that line so I don't go off it too much. So to do my Y stitch, I don't think I've shown that one yet in this video. So I'm going to come down as long as I want my stitch to be, so I'm going to try and make these reasonably uniform, and then come back up again just to the side, to the left hand side of where I first came out there, and then I'm going to go down again on the right hand side about the same distance away and come back out at the base of that stitch I've just made. And like with the chain stitch, making sure I come out through the loop and over the top of that loop. So there's a loop and my thread's coming out on top of it, so that when I pull it through it doesn't disappear back inside. And now I'm going to take another stitch down, try and go for roughly the same length again, and come up to the left hand side again, level with where I've brought my thread out, pull it through and down to the right hand side. So now I'm level with that and I'm level with this. So you can play with the dimensions of this stitch, make them closer together, longer and shorter, all kinds of things, but I'm just going to do a fairly uniform one this time. I'm kind of pretending the running stitch isn't there now, except to keep me going in the right direction, but I try not to go through my tacking stitch. Quite nice. It will serve to join the pieces together, but it also looks quite decorative. Not that you're going to see much of it, but I just quite like doing it. So and it's something different to show you if you've not seen that one before. I know a lot of people who would be watching this video will know this stitch very well, but as I said earlier, a couple of people have said could I show the stitches a bit more, the basic stitches, so I'm very happy to do that. This is a lovely stitch to use for things like foliage. Right, so I'm going to carry on and finish this whole line of stitching, and then I'll be back. Okay, what I've done now is finish my stitching of that pocket there. Now I'm going to whip stitch along just these side edges. I put quite a lot of clips in. I found it quite difficult to get a kind of even. You can see that's not quite even along there because I think the denim was slightly crooked. So yeah, I had to fiddle about a bit to get that more or less even looking. I put pins there to hold it in place here and this end, but I'm not actually going to stitch there because that's where I've got to go in underneath to insert the handles and put my magnetic catch on. So they're just to sort of hold it all in place, and I'm going to move these clips as I go. So I've put a knot in my thread. I'm just going to carry on with the embroidery thread because I think this stitching might show now. So I'm just going to bring my needle up there and hide the knot in underneath. Put my needle back through the loop there just to make a little knot to help keep it all secure. And I'm I'm just going to work my way along here, taking a little stitch into the denim and a little stitch into the lining, working from right to left all the way along. Oops. As I say, a lot of this could be done on the machine, but I was in the mood for hand stitching today. Just a little neatish over stitch there. I'm going to work my way along both edges and then I'll be back with the next step. Right, slightly changed my plan again. I finished stitching all along here. My plan now is that I need to stitch these two sides together, and I think the easiest way is going to be to line them up like this. I'm going to leave this top little bit open where it's just the denim, and then I'm going to stitch back and forth across here all the way down. And then if I take this point then and fold it up so it looks almost like the end of a little parcel, can you see what I mean? Like that. That way it will give it a boxed bottom but without any kind of raw edges on the inside and without me having to do a separate lining. So yeah, first step is going to be to stitch both sides up. So I'll go back and forth from here right down to the point, and then I'll do the same on this end. Start here right the way down to the point, and then I'll just fold up an edge here, and I might even add a little button there or something. I don't know, just really exaggerate it, and that will create me my flat bottom again. The only thing is now a lot of my design is going underneath there, so I think I need to make it the smallest point I can manage. But obviously the fabric is quite bulky with it being denim, so it'll be probably that is going to be the smallest I can possibly manage. I think that makes sense. I don't think you need to sit and watch me stitch that. The other thing I still need to do is attach these top edges of the lining inside, but I need to just put in my magnetic fasteners first. So let's use the marker again. I want it right in the middle, so like a little, that's where I want my little catch to go, and here again in the middle. Now, I've never used these before, so I don't know if they're just going to push through or leave it, if I'll need to make a little hole first. Yep, I'm going to have to make holes. Okay, I need to measure down from the top as well so that I've done both the same. I hope that will do it. So each one's got these little legs on. Push the leg through these holes that I've made. Put one of these washer things on. Okay, I think that's okay. And now, of course, because that's in this layer, it doesn't show on the outside at all. I could put a button there just for show button. So let's measure down here, do the same. I feel like there must be a more scientific way to do this, but of course what I could have done would have made more sense. So that's my centre point that I marked. I could have just put that over the centre point and done this. That would have been a sensible approach, but I seem to have pretty much spot on guesstimated that anyway, so phew. Right. Put my washer on again. Hey, that seems to be okay. Right, so now I can slip stitch along here, or whip stitch, or blanket stitch, or whatever, but I've just got to bear in mind that whatever, I've got to be careful it doesn't show through here. So I just want to stitch into this top layer of denim, so I need to be a little bit careful about that. So I will come back when I've stitched, when I've done that, and then we're back for finishing touches. I've changed my mind about the handle because I've got these. I really wanted to use this for a handle, and I just think it looks so cute. But I just think I'm going to be able to stitch through it. And I got to thinking, do you really need a handle? Because I would have to stitch through all of these layers, and I think that's going to be really tricky. So I've decided to do without a handle for a minute, and then I will think again if I decide I want one at the end. We'll see. Okay, nearly done now. Right, I've rethunk again. These projects you make up as you go along do have a way of evolving, and I've decided I'm going to keep it really simple. So I thought I'd just do a little bit of this stitching with you just to show you what I'm doing. Well, it's pretty straightforward. Nothing fancy. I've given myself a bit of you see the difference between those two knuckles. You can only just see it. This one's bigger. Last night it was all kind of hot and red as well. I sometimes get these little flare-ups of kind of like an acute arthritis, I guess, when I'm overdoing it. So pulling the needle through this denim is maybe what's triggered it this time. I don't know, so I'm having to use the other fingers just to finish this off. So I've been having a bit of a think, and in the way that these kind of make it up as you go along projects do, this has evolved again, and I'm going to keep it more simple than I was intending. I'll show you in a sec. You can see what I'm doing here. I'm just doing a deliberately oversized kind of whip stitch to hold these two together. And this is the first little bobbin of thread I've actually emptied. I think this pink is the first one that I've emptied. You get on each of these skeins of thread, you get 8 meters, don't you, with this embroidery floss. So I'm just going to leave that open there. And I could go on the inside and go across if I do that on the inside as well, which I might, just for strength, but it doesn't need to be that strong really. But I might use a contrasting one, use this green. I think that would look really pretty. But I will finish that off camera now. I'm just going to finish whipping along to the end of this seam, and then I'm pretty much done. But I've got some optional extras, some just little ideas that you definitely could add to this to make it fancier. I think I might end up making another one. Well, I've just come to the end there now, and I know from doing this again now that this is what set my knuckle off hurting, pulling this through here. I've actually got a set of needle pullers in the post that I'm hoping will help. So yeah, I think using this denim, it looks so pretty. I love the look of it with the embroidery on, but it is quite hard work to hand stitch into, so I'm just going to pull that back along there. Okay. Got my handy little needle holder on there. This is where I'm going to leave this one, because I like the look of, I love how that has come out, that embroidery, the look of that embroidery on the denim. I really love. Really simple with the magnetic catch. I can put everything I need in there. I can put all my, basically what I'm thinking is all of my kind of cutting and marking things. So these would both find a place in there. The chalk marker. I might put heat erasable pen in there. I've got little pockets here, so I could perhaps put a tailor's chalks in there. A little tape measure would make sense for a tape measure to go in there. So basically, and one of these cutter things, small pair of scissors. No, actually that would be the small, will be the small pair of scissors. Where's the top for that? Yeah. You know, that kind of thing. So I'm going to leave it like that because of how I've placed that design. But I love the idea of making it into more of a caddy, I suppose, where I would box the corners like I showed before. So all I would have to do now to box these corners is just turn a corner up there, stitch through, perhaps add a decorative button, same on this side, and then that would automatically, it would look quite cute. It would look like a little wrapped like a little wrapped present almost. I think that would be lovely. And it would automatically box the corners like that, so that when I open up my pouch it would sit open like that, which I think is lovely. So I'm going to make another one, but in a different fabric. That stitching this denim by hand is just too painful for my hand. But yeah, you can see how easy that would be to do. The other reason that I can't do it is that because of how I've placed the embroidery, most of that would be lost. It would be kind of on the bottom. It would still be there, but it would be on the bottom. So yeah, I'm not going to do it with this one, but I just think that would be a lovely, really simple design to do. And I've quite enjoyed doing this way, stitching the lining in by doing the whole thing by hand basically, but it would have been really, really quick and easy to do on the machine as well, obviously. But yeah, I love the way that looks. It'll be really handy, and it will still kind of open up like that, you know. It just, if you boxed it like that, it would just hold its shape really well. The other thing I decided against doing, again partly because of the difficulty of stitching through, is using these, and it would be, I will do it in a different fabric. And when I make the one with the box corners, it would be nice to have little handles, perhaps either side like that. You can see how cute that would look if I could manage to stitch through that denim, so that you can pull on the handles to open it out, and then it will sit there like that. So I'm definitely going to come back and do a caddy like that. I'll go through that whole process with you. I think that'd be a really nice way to use up a lot of lovely bright colourful fabrics that I've got. Right, what I'm going to do is set up a thumbnail now, as I usually do. Not exactly sure how I'm going to do my thumbnail, but we've got that bit, and then let's do this as well. I do love how those colours look against the denim. It's really nice. I think hand stitching so much denim wasn't such a great idea. Yeah, so I will definitely be back to do a proper boxed corner version of this. Just think that would be just really simple to do. Now I've worked it out, and really, really, really useful, and a nice way to use up lots of not too big scraps of fabric, because that, I mean, basically you just need a couple of pieces like this big. It's really not too much fabric at all. So I hope you enjoyed that. I hope that maybe gave you some ideas. This has certainly got me thinking about adding just little embroidery, little touches of embroidery onto all sorts of projects, just to give them your own little special touch, you know. And it's something that I think people used to do a lot, didn't they? You know, they used to do little embroidery pieces on all kinds of table linen and household items and things, and I just think it's a really nice thing to do, and it makes it uniquely yours. I've just got so much scope in that book. There's such a lot to try. What I need to do next is try some of the ones that will give me the opportunity to use different stitches, you know, to fill in with different stitches and things. I want to do at least one more project this month with this box. I will be using it for months to come, but at least one more this month will be, while it's the craft of the month. And I think maybe the next project, rather than do another kind of crafty storage thing, which I was thinking, I think it'd be quite nice to do one just as either a little framed piece, or possibly some little smaller individual pieces that could be turned into lovely. And I think for that one I'll use some ink tents or something to add some colour before I stitch in as well, because I really love doing that, and that'd be another little fun technique to try. So I will be back with that in the next week or so. Thanks again to Kirsty and Rachel at Stitch Kit for sending me this beautiful box. I'm having so much fun with it, and I think it's something that's going to inspire lots and lots of projects in the months to come. Of course, all the links will be in the description box below. I've already talked about. I'd also like to say a huge thank you to my channel members. I do this at the end of every video now. If you are interested in joining, there's a button down here somewhere you can click on to find out all about it. If you're not, please don't worry. It's not a problem if you can't or don't want to. You'll still be part of the community. The Discord community and the Facebook group will continue to be free. They're not going anywhere. Nobody's going to need to feel left out because they're not a channel member, and you can still show your support just by subscribing. That don't cost anything, and clicking the like button and leaving comments and just watching the videos like this one. It all helps. But I just want to say a special thank you to my lovely channel members who've chosen to support us in that way. I really appreciate Tom, my son Tom, really appreciates it as well. It means a lot to us, it really does. As I've been talking, their names are all scrolling up here. We've got 36 members now. I can't believe it. Yeah, it really really warms your cockles, you know. Anyway, right, that's quite enough waffle from me today. I was told the other day that I yammer on. It's not waffle now, apparently I yammer. Yeah, so thanks for that one. Lovely viewer who left that lovely comment. I did reply to it and say, yeah, fair point. I do waffle on. If you just want to watch sewing with no waffle, I'm afraid this isn't the channel for you. It's like, anyway, hey ho, I don't mind. Everybody's entitled to their opinion, and everybody's entitled to move on to another video. It's not going to change. It's not going to change how I go on. Anyway, there we go, waffling again. Thanks so much for joining me today, and I'll see you again really soon. Bye. Oh dear.